When making waffles, I always say, think outside the box and make them from scratch. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Belgian Liège waffles with spiced plums and a white chocolate sauce. Now, I'd like to start with the spiced plums, and this is essentially a fruit compote. I've taken a pound of plums and cut them into wedges. I'll add these to my pot. It really doesn't matter if you use red, black, or prune plums, whatever's available. I like to make this a very fragrant compote. So in addition to the spices, I also add an orange. I squeeze the juice in, and I actually drop in the whole orange because some of that orange flavor cooks out from the zest. There we go. Before I get the spices in, I have to sweeten it up. 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And now for the spices. I have a little cheesecloth, and I want to make a sachet to drop into the compote. That way, it's easy to pull out all of the whole spices. I have 2 star anise, 3 cloves, 2 cinnamon sticks, and 3 black peppercorns. I like the heat that you get from black pepper. Just draw it all up. A little tie, and then drop it into the pot, and then tie it to the handle. That way you know you won't lose it in the pot. I'll let this simmer uncovered, and I'll stir it occasionally. Now I want to cook the plums so that they're fully cooked and soft, but they don't fall apart. So I will keep an eye on it. And while that's cooking, I can start on my waffle dough. Oh, Liège waffles have to be my favorite style, I will confess. And I think in part that's because the dough itself is very much like a brioche dough. So this is a yeast-raised waffle dough. I start with a cup of water, not just regular water, sparkling water. Let's add bubbles and air and volume while we can, right off the top. I'll grab my yeast. Two and a quarter teaspoons. I'll add 3 tablespoons of sugar. There's not a lot of sugar in this recipe yet. And 2 eggs. And I'll just give this a quick mix just to combine the ingredients. Right. Now I can add 4 cups of all-purpose flour. I'll let this mix on low speed, and as it starts coming together, I'll pour in 1 cup of melted butter. And I just want to mix this for a few minutes until the dough is smooth and elastic. While that's mixing, I'll give the plums a stir. The color's just starting to come out a little bit. All right. Ooh, yeah, that is a nice, rich dough. And you need to cover your dough with plastic wrap. And all it takes is about an hour for this dough to rise up and double in size. Now, the last bit for me to get ready before I actually get to make waffles is to make my white chocolate sauce. I've got whipping cream, and I'll measure out 1/2 cup. There we go, and pour that into a pot. White chocolate can sometimes be sweet all on its own, so I'm adding black pepper to it, just to build a little contrast. And I measure 1/2 teaspoon into the cream, and then I turn this on high heat. This will build the flavor into the cream before I add it to the chocolate. Ooh, these plums are coming along nicely. And what I love is the juice from the plums cooks in with the sugar, and that builds in almost a glaze, like a second sauce. Ooh, that cream seriously does not take long. Pour it right on top of the chocolate. Just give it a second to sit. Let the cream do its thing. And then just using a spatula, I give it a gentle stir to let it melt all together. Oh, there we go. Nice and smooth. So here's the dough after an hour. Look at how it's doubled in size. So I just unwrap it and turn it out onto my work table. I like to make these waffles when I have people over for brunch. Now, this buttery dough isn't very sweet because now's the time I add the sugar. Oh, Liège Waffles, which were created in Liège, Belgium, have these caramelized bits of sugar, and you get that by working in pearl sugar, 1 cup. Now, this is just a type of sugar you can find in bakery supply stores, or you can take sugar cubes, put them in a bag, and pound them out to crush them up. What counts is you have these little pieces of sugar that you now work into the dough. Little hits of sweetness. So I just get to play and work in the sugar, cut the dough into pieces. So if you see little pockets of sugar like this, you just keep squishing them around. So I'm just gonna roughly cut this in half, then it's easier to divide into pieces. Now, this style of waffle is meant to look a little bit rough and rustic. That's part of its appeal. So I shape them a little bit into a round, but nothing too precise or polished. I've got my waffle iron heated, and the idea is that this waffle doesn't fill the entire iron. I drop it right in the center, turn it over, I'll do another one. And these take the exact same time as those buttermilk waffles, about 3 minutes. Oh, you definitely smell these when they're cooking. Get the combination of butter and caramelized sugar. Yay! Whoa, look at that. And that is all super crunchy. That shininess you see, ooh, that's the caramelized sugar. Now you see why I like to have these coming out of the waffle iron when I have guests coming over for brunch. It smells so good. Ooh, gorgeous. No 2 Liège waffles look alike. Ooh, that's a nice one. First, a bit of my white chocolate sauce with black pepper. And a few of these beautiful spiced plums. Some of that gorgeous sauce that really has reduced like a glaze. Gorgeous. And there you have it, the Liège waffle plated with a white chocolate sauce and spiced plums. So delicious.